Yeah, so I like PC parts, right? Right here, I want to tell you about this little PC part. Now, this isn't a normal PC part. You see this? You see this beauty over here? This right here is a 1080 Ti. You know what's cool about it? It is not one slot, not two slots, but three slots. You see those fans? Those are full-size case fans. You know why we got that? Because this thing overclocks and this thing games, and I'm going to show you just what it's capable of.
If you want to learn a little more about my setup, I actually already did a video talking about it. You can find it right here. But the TLDR is I'm using a AMD 1700 CPU and a 1080 Ti GPU, which has some modifications. Again, watch the video if you want to learn a little bit about that. But that's really all you need to know. I'm going to be showing off 8 different game benchmarks in this. I tried to pick a pretty good variety. Some of these are a lot older. Some of these are kind of newer. Some of them are intense. Some of them aren't so intense. And all of them are being ran at the highest settings I could put at 4K to try to eliminate as much CPU bottleneck as possible. All these I'm actually just showing off the in-game benchmark. Normally I play through the games, but a lot of these I'm actually not incredibly familiar with. Like, I don't have a lot of time on them. And Dirt 3 is no exception to that. This came out in 2011 and it is pretty easy to run on this setup. 4K max settings, 151 FPS average. Pretty easy to run. Second easiest game to run, one of my favorites, is Just Cause 2. This game came out in 2010, 4K max settings, and there's actually a lot of tweaking you can do in the settings for this game. There's a bunch of this game's very well made. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do. There's even 3 different benchmarks built into this. I'm just using the very first one, but this ran at about an average of 90 frames per second. Tomb Raider 2013. Totally forgot this game was called Tomb Raider 2013, and I absolutely forgot that it came out. Well, I knew it was called Tomb Raider. I just forgot that it came out in 2013. This game actually still looks really good, and it runs super well. All the eye candy turned all the way up 4K. This is running at about 80 FPS. This is average. I don't have the mins and max. Sorry about that. Some of the benchmarks don't show them. I just decided to cut them out. Middle-earth: Shadow of War. This game came out towards the end of 2017. It has a lot of quality settings that you can mess with. It seems like the benchmark's pretty well put together. I really like, I guess that's just because it's a newer title. A lot of titles have really good benchmarks nowadays, and this is no exception. There's a bunch of data that I collected, but I'm only going to tell you 4K max settings. FPS average was about 53. All right, we're getting really close to new games now. Gears of War 5 came out September 2019. Pretty new, has so many settings. Even if you can't run it at this, if you like want to go crazy with it, it has like dynamic resolution scaling, so you can set a frame rate target, which is super nice, but obviously I kept that off so we could run the benchmark and you can see just how it ran on its own. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that we got about 47 frames per second on this. All right, now to change the pace a little bit, I have been talking about like pretty much all the games have slowly just gone up down in terms of age. They've gotten newer. This, we're going all the way back to the end of 2012. Hitman Absolution. I don't know what it is about this game. There's probably just some little setting that you can flip on and off and it changes the FPS a ton. But this maxed out 4K, really hard to run. This was 42 FPS. Which is really surprising to me. I don't know why it is or what it is. I might tweak around with it a little bit and see what's up, but I mean, that's what the numbers were. I ran it a bunch. You know, computers are really great at crunching math, but unfortunately, they aren't that great at Division 2. I know, great joke, right? I'm sorry, that was really bad. Anyway, this game came out towards the beginning of 2019. Max settings, I got it all cranked out. 4K, this runs at about 37 frames per second. And we've come to the end. Borderlands 3, this game came out September 2019. Still pretty new, not even on Steam yet. Or maybe it will be by the time you're watching this video. you know, it'll be there eventually. But as I'm testing, it's not even out on Steam, still incredibly new. And this boy at 4K max settings ran at about 34 frames per second. I want to go ahead and say that, like, if you want to turn down the settings, you can get such a good frame rate, especially on the newer titles. And, well, the older titles, you already have such a good frame rate, you don't need to. But the newer titles have so many good settings for, like, dynamic resolution and stuff like that, that you can get a stupid amount of FPS out of these games. This is just a worst case scenario. And that's it. That's all my games. If you have any suggestions, hit me with them. Bye.